I no longer want to be known as a snooker player. I really don't.
Yeah.
Because for me, if I was just to play snooker, I wouldn't do it for a living.
Yeah.
I lost my personality, lost my confidence, lost my way, if you like, you know. And so going into rehab, that was hard to imagine life and having fun without my crutch and my addictions, if you know, because they was getting me through for so long that it become like a learned behaviour. You have to put people in their place, and I've had to do that for 30 years.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, thanks for joining us.
Yep, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, good, thanks, yeah.
So the championships are coming up. You are both competing and a pundit. It's not incredibly common, not incredibly uncommon, but not incredibly common. How does that change? I mean, I imagine this doesn't change the way you play, but does, in terms of the way speaking as a pundit, competing against the same guys, does that alter your approach to it?
No, it's I don't know, I suppose it's sort of, I mean, I started working with Eurosport probably 6-7 years ago, and all I'd ever done was play snooker tournaments and just focused on that. And that was great when you're kind of younger and hungry to win all the titles there is to win. But then at some point, the motivation to keep getting out of bed and keep trying to win silverware becomes less of a motivation, if you like. And you just think, oh, okay, so how do I hang around in this sport longer? And what is it going to take for me to want to play for longer? So I decided that, it was probably best that I kind of started to reinvent myself in a different sort of way, really. So now I tell everybody now I have like 4 jobs, possibly 5 jobs, and snooker has become more like a hobby. I think once snooker was, in 2010-11, it was taken over by Barry Hearn, and obviously a lot of changes happened, and I just thought I'm probably not gonna. If all I'd done was play snooker, I probably wouldn't have played.
Really?
Because it changed a lot. You know, you kind of. And I won't go into details, but I just thought it doesn't suit me as much as it probably did before.
Yeah.
But I knew I still wanted to play, but I had to kind of restructure how I done things and how, change the business model, if you like. So like I say, now I have 4 or 5 jobs, possibly 6 jobs. Yeah. And it allows me to basically just go to snooker tournaments, and if I win, great. If I don't win, it really doesn't matter. So now I'm kind of playing because I want to play, and it feels better that way. You know, I feel like I'm enjoying it much more than I ever have done. And at first, I used to feel quite resentful towards the new setup and the way it was run. But now I feel like I need to owe them an apology and thank them, because they forced me into changing how I've done things, and I now wish I'd have done this 25, 30 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people used to say to me, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, and I just kind of was like, no, I just want to play snooker. Yeah. And actually they were right, you know, the last 10 years I've done so many different things. I had my fingers in a lot of different pies, and a lot of the pies don't mean it has to take up my time. It just means that I just have to lend myself to it, and, you know, other people kind of, it's like a team, if you like. So while I'm out doing my stuff, they're kind of putting their input to it. I can't do what they do. They can't do what I do. But as a team, we're able to kind of make a good job of a lot of things. And the relationship I've got with Eurosport has been fantastic. They realise, obviously, I'm still a player, and that comes first in my preparations. But they get everything they want out of me, you know. They get, and you know, so I add value in other ways, not through just being a pundit, you know, doing a media day here today. I'll also do lots of other things for Eurosports, maybe some podcasts, you know. So they get to use me in lots of different ways, which benefits them as well, and also gets to do the punditry work, which I really love, you know. Because Jimmy White is like a bigger brother. I'd say he's a bigger brother to me. Some people call him uncles, a father figure, but no, Jimmy's a brother, an older brother with a wise head, and he's as crazy as I am, and we both have a laugh, and. But he, because he's got that bit much more experience, you know, he's, I listen to him, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. Plus he makes me laugh. He's one of the funniest people I've ever known, and I just love him, you know, and all the team at Eurosport are great. So, like I always said, if I had a choice between playing snooker and being a pundit, I would probably choose being a pundit. Really? Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you, you know, I like playing, and you know, there's nothing else I'm ever going to do where I'm going to be as good at it as I am at snooker, you know. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate that. You know, anything else I do is never going to come close to it in that way. But you know, it's not easy to keep delivering on the snooker table, and at some point, you know, you just think, you know, I haven't got the stamina, the desire that these younger guys have got. So I have to accept that, and I just then have to kind of go, well, I want to enjoy it, I want to play, but am I prepared to put all my eggs in one basket? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's, you know, that's an absolute given. You know, so as long as everything keeps going the way it's going, and one day, you know, sometimes I get the feeling I'm gonna wake up one day and it's not going to be as good as it is today, and then I'm gonna maybe have to make that decision whether I play or not. But hopefully it doesn't. You know, I think it's just sort of because I've never done this before. It kind of feels, how long can it go on for? Where snooker's totally in my own hands. You know, if I win, I'm there. If I don't, then I'm not, you know, whereas the other stuff, you're kind of relying on people to kind of still want to do stuff with me and stuff like that. So you kind of think, you know, one day they might wake up and go, well, we don't really want Ronnie on board anymore. So, you know, you have all them thoughts go through your head, but I know that's just nonsense talk going on in the head, and I just have to keep delivering what I do and doing a good job for everybody that I work with. And like I say, you know, for Eurosport, I think it works really well because, you know, how many snooker pundits are #1 in the world at what they do. It's not like you get Roger Federer or Djokovic sitting there playing tennis and then sitting there as a pundit, you know, or Lionel Messi sitting there talking. Can you imagine Lionel Messi working for BBC as a pundit and then playing the next day? They'd be going, well, we've kind of got a bit of a scoop here. So I do realise that Eurosport see massive value in that I'm a current player, and not just a current player, but, you know, don't know how, but I've just managed to get back to #1 as well. So it kind of, I can see there's value for everybody in it, and while everybody's happy, you know, you just keep it going, you know.
Definitely, and I find that really interesting. The point you said about, you know, kind of waking up years ago and being like, all right, if I keep doing this with the same level of intensity and maybe kind of, I guess for a lot of people, it's almost like defining yourself. How you define yourself? Do you define yourself as a snooker player, or you know, because of your familial ties and the people you have around you and this sort of stuff? Does it seem kind of like, by sort of admitting that your love of snooker was sort of going a little bit, that you've got it back almost, or in a way?
Yeah, absolutely, because I'm playing just for fun, you know. If I lose, it doesn't really matter. If I win, it's a bonus, so I don't get the highs and I don't get the lows. I'm just enjoying it for the game, and I'm enjoying competing. I'm enjoying the challenges, and it's quite funny that you said there, you know, do you identify yourself as a snooker player? I get quite a lot of people come up to me now, saying to me, you know, do you still play snooker? I'm thinking, I won the World Championships last year. I'm #1 in the world. I'm getting these people keep asking me, do I still play snooker? I'm thinking, what message is being sent out there? Am I not playing as much as I used to? Is there so much snooker on TV and I just happen to not be in them that they just think, oh, where's Ronnie? And it just makes me chuckle. And also now when people ask me when my next tournament is, I go, I actually don't even know. I said, I don't even play much anymore. So I kind of just tell it, because I actually don't want to identify myself as a snooker player. So it's quite funny that you use that word. How do you identify yourself? I no longer want to be known as a snooker player. I really don't. Because for me, if I was just to play snooker, I wouldn't do it for a living. So I kind of then have to pull away from that and go, I'm just doing it for fun now. So I don't class myself, it's more like I do it for a hobby. I think I take my keep fit and my running much more serious than I do my snooker. So I no longer kind of see myself as a snooker player. I'm more of a part-time player that's happening to enjoy it and making the most of it.
Doing very, very well.
I'm just making the most of it. You know, whether I do well or not, it's irrelevant. You know, it's just making the most of it and enjoying every tournament I go to. Every tournament is like a holiday for me. You know, I have my running friends that I meet up with. I have the gym sorted. So, you know, that's first and foremost. We have good hotels. I have my friend with me. I also have a friend with me now that sorts all the tickets and this and that, so I can actually invite friends up. Because it used to be a headache for me. You know, the one year I pulled out the Masters, wasn't because I didn't want to play in it. I just didn't want to deal with people with tickets and having, because it just took the fun out of the snooker.
People asking to get like,
it just done my head in. And in the end, I was like, I just didn't want to play. So I went, okay, so I had to employ someone basically just to take care of all that sort of stuff. So now I can invite friends and just pass them on to the office and they just deal with it. And I can just go, all right, you know, it's just taken a lot of all the aggravation out of it for me. So setting myself up this way has been so much more beneficial for me and my happiness. And that's probably why I'm still playing.
That's brilliant. Because like, obviously, if you're not a sports person, you generally just, you're not defined by your profession necessarily. You're everything to, your son, your father, your brother, all that sort of stuff. But it seems like, particularly for individual sports people, there is this whole thing where it has to be all enveloping and it has to be your life.
Yeah.
Do you think that, did that, maybe thinking like that before you sort of readjusted the way you look at yourself and the way you look at snooker, did that have a detrimental effect on your life? Was it all encompassing? And was your happiness associated with your performance?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. You're all in. You're all in. The highs are great, the lows are not great, but you just have to suck it all up and get through it. Stints in rehab, stints on anxiety pills, stints pulling out of tournaments, becoming a bit of a hermit in many ways, because you just, when you finish playing, you don't just leave it there, you kind of carry it about with you, so you don't always feel like the most sociable person. So you kind of like end up leading this lifestyle in a bit of a bubble, if you like. So yeah, it takes a lot from you, really. And that worked for me, in a way, because it drove me on, because as a player you develop. And the player I was when I was 10 was different when I was 14, and the player I was when I was 18 was different to when I was 14. And the player I am today is completely different to the player that I was when I was 20, 21, 22. So
and your temperament develops as you get older as well.
You're just always developing. You're developing your snooker skills, your temperament. I've worked with Steve Peters. I've worked with technical coaches, and over the years that just kind of makes you the player you are. But I wouldn't have done that if I'd have had this carefree attitude. I'd have gone, I got beat, who cares? But because I wanted it so much, I was seeking to kind of be a better player, and that 2 feet in attitude forces you to manifest, if you like. You kind of go, I want to win this tournament. What have I got to do to win it? I need to get him on board. I need to get this one. I need to improve in all my sort of weaker areas, if you like. Now, I get coaches knocking at my door saying, I'd love to work with you, this and that. I'm like, no, mate, I've got no interest. I don't want to develop as a player. I'm really happy doing what I'm doing. I'm on holiday every tournament. You coming on board is just going to like bore the tears out of me. You're going to sit there and start talking about cue actions and how to kind of become a better this. And I'm like, I really ain't got the time or energy to actually want to have them conversations with you. So thanks, but no thanks. I'm sticking here with my mate Robbie, and we're having a laugh, and that's it. You know what I mean? I'm done with developing as a player. I'm developed, and that's as good as it's going to get. And that's it. I'm happy with that,
Do you get inspiration from? I recently saw in an interview you spoke about your style of play, and you mentioned Jimmy White, and obviously you've always played in your own style, and sport has a kind of always across all sports sort of a form versus function, style versus result sort of thing. Have you always been kind of, I must play in my style first, or would victory playing in another way that's less natural mean anything to you?
No, I couldn't play any other way, really. Like I say, I've developed as a player, so I'm probably a little bit more measured now than I was, but I'm still, if you used to look at my game, I'm still based on potting, break building, attacking, but I attack now a bit more sensibly. I'm a bit more patient to wait for a better opportunity, maybe. If my long potting's on, then I can be less patient. I can attack even more. But, my game is based on give me a chance, get me amongst the balls. If I'm scoring well, I'm going to clear up. I'm going to go ton, 90, 80, apply lots of pressure to my opponent. And if they can keep up with it, great. Most of the time they can't, and eventually I just break them down, and that's how I win my matches, just through scoring power, really. I'm also pretty decent in the safety area, which I've had to develop as well, and I'm able to use that when I need to. And so I just think for me, I couldn't change my game. If I tried to play any other way, I would just get picked off, because I'm not good enough to bore someone. I'm not good enough to keep them out for long periods of time. It would probably do more damage to my game than it would their game, and I probably wouldn't do it good enough. And plus, 30 years of playing the way I played, if I was to go and play that sort of style, I'd lose a lot of my fans. I'd lose a lot of... I think I'd lose a lot of love from the people. I was going to
ask, would you enjoy it as much
yourself? No, I wouldn't enjoy it, and I don't think I'd enjoy kind of having built up a kind of the way I've played, and I'd never went out to intentionally play the way I played, but I do realised that I've got a lot of people that love the way I play and have supported me because of the way I play. And if I was to start to play like one of the slower guys on the circuit and go really negative, I just don't think that would feel right, you know, even if it was to get a result. Like I said, I'd rather go and do something else. And so it will be playing it on my terms till the day I finished. And I think doing it my way has proved that I can go on for longer than the likes of Stephen Hendry, Steve Davis and anybody else has in the game, because I just think I play a winning game. You know, I'm not saying Stephen Hendry and Steve Davis didn't, because they did. But there's players on the circuit that are a bit more measured and a bit more whatever, and they get to a certain point that they stop winning because they don't attack the balls enough. You know, and at some point you need to score points, and you need to break building, you need to put pressure on your opponent. And if you're not doing that, you know, no matter how slow and dragging down certain opponents, you might get away with it in the first round, second round, third round, but eventually someone's going to come in and bring their A game and they're going to blow you away. So you need to have a blow away game as well. You know, you can fudge your way through 1 or 2 rounds maybe, but at some point you're going to have to play lights out snooker to get to the finish line and pick them trophies up, you know.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about like, you know, stints in rehab and your kind of struggles with addiction and stuff like that. Like, looking back to those moments, and then let's say where you are now, like seemingly very content. Also, I've just met you, but you know, you seem very content and very relaxed and very incredibly comfortable in yourself. Would you have imagined being at this point back then?
I don't really know. Not really. I think when I first went in rehab, I was always quite calm, chilled out, and then obviously I got involved in addictions, and that I lost my personality, lost my confidence, lost my way, if you like, you know. And so going into rehab, that was hard to imagine life and having fun without my crutch on my addictions, if you know, because they was getting me through for so long that it become like a learnt behaviour. So when they said to me, like, you know, you got to give up this, basically give up anything that's mind altering, I was like, really? What, I can't have a couple of pints? You know, like, are you serious? And I was like, no, it's total abstinence. And I was like, well, I've got no chance. You know, this ain't gonna work for me. I just thought, you know, a few beers surely, you know, but it wasn't to be. So obviously you enter a 12-step program and you live that life. And I lived that life for, I think I managed about 9 months before I cracked, and I had a night out. I was like, I can't keep doing this. But the stuff I learned in that 12-step program was about finding inner peace and serenity. And it was from that moment on that I kind of started to put that first, and realised that if I put that first...
I got some pigeon friends.
Pigeons, you up with that? Pigeon background noise, quite good.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. Little soundtrack.
Little soundtrack, yeah. Ronnie's soundtrack. The pigeons. Kind of like, I realised that to perform well, having that peace and serenity was part of developing as a player. But I thought everything was all about potting balls. But I realised then it was just about your mindset and going into matches feeling calm and relaxed. And I remember just thinking, this is really helping me become a better snooker player. So then I was like, I'm not just doing this for a better life, I'm doing this for my snooker as well, you know. So I kind of embraced that in 2000. So for the last 20 years, if you like, I've sort of been on that thing of, right, okay, it's not just about potting balls. I need to be right in myself, mentally right. And sometimes I push myself too hard and the anxiety kicks in, and I find other ways to remedy it, you know, whatever that may be. But I always know that, you know, it's about being in a good place to be able to perform well and have the longevity, you know.
Because that's the thing you said about, you know, that sometimes the anxiety creeps back in and stuff, and you have been described as a perfectionist, like almost more so in victory than in defeat. Is that something that you kind of have to, because I mean, obviously there's pros and cons to that, but is that something that you have to balance, let's say, so that maybe you remain enough of a perfectionist to try and get your game as close to perfect as possible, but not so much that you beat yourself up?
I give myself a bit of leeway now. You know, I don't expect perfection. I expect steadiness. I expect solidness. I expect consistency. You know, that's what I work on now. You know, I don't expect perfection. I've developed enough as a player to go, okay, if the potting's not on, I can be a bit patient. If if my long potting's not great, you know, maybe refuse a few, make up for your scoring, be a bit patient. If it comes back, then you start attacking the balls more. So I'm a bit more, you know, like I pick my times. You know, I'm more thinking my way through games, if you like. So I think that sort of is the way that I've kind of got over my perfection, I suppose. But perfection is not a bad it's not bad. It's how you manage it. I think it's how you manage it. You know, it's good to aim high. It forces you to push yourself to the limits. But then it's kind of knowing that, you know, at some point you now need to kind of put that aside and then just focus on the game. You know, you've prepared, you've done everything you can do. You now need to switch off, clear your mind, and now it's like, you know, tournament play, you don't want to be thinking about that. You just got to go out and play. Do your best, get involved, mentally be there, try your hardest until the last ball. And that's where Steve Pilters has helped me. You know, I'm able to now put that aside, focus on the game. Obviously, you still have faults out there, but I'm able to sort of park them up a lot better and just focus on the game, getting a result, and then going, okay, maybe the next round my game will flow. And I think also as well, I kind of, it helped me to look back at a lot of my games where I thought I was rubbish. I think I was rubbish. How did I win that tournament? And I'd think, you know, it was a fraud. They let me win. And and then thank God for YouTube, because I look back over some of my matches and think, oh, I really played bad in that tournament. And I watched some of the games and I was like, it was really good. And I was, you know, so it's like, you know, it's like sometimes I have to force myself to go back in past just to kind of convince myself that it wasn't a fraud. And you know, what people were saying was probably true. I just didn't watch it, or just didn't appreciate it, or just didn't believe. You know, it's just funny. But now I can look back in certain parts of when I was doing well and think, well, let's have a little watch of that back. Was it good enough to win that tournament? And when I watch it, I go, yeah, that was good enough to win that tournament. You know, so I'm a lot better by doing that. I'm a lot better at not listening to my instinct on how so now I finish a match and people go, how did you play? I go, rather not talk about that, because I'm probably not going to give you
your gut instinct would be to probably criticize yourself,
be too in the emotional lane, if you like. So I just kind of like, it was what it was. I'm leaving it out there. It's history. Don't want to talk about it. Pleased to be through for the next round. Really excited to still be here, and that's how I kind of like deal with it, if you like. Yeah,
I suppose it's one of those interesting things. Do you kind of look at it the same way now, as like, you know, almost not to treat the victories too high and not to treat the defeats too low, and that it's just on to the next one, and that it's just a game at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Like I said, you know, like I said to my mate Robbie, you know, sometimes we'd go away and I know I'm going to be away for 5 weeks, and that could be like 4 different tournaments. That's not just one tournament. So we're going from place to place to place to place. And I said, look, one thing we are going to do is we're going to have a great time. You know, might not win many matches, might not do this and that, but that's just how it is, you know. So for me, it's just more about the enjoyment side of it and having fun with it, and just, you know, the snooker. Then, you know, I get to the quarters, I get to the semis. I think I went quarters, semi, win. It was 4 tournaments in 5 weeks, and after each tournament ended, you wouldn't have known if I'd won it or lost it.
Just by your...
Yeah. Because you've already made that decision that I'm here on holiday. And if I win, great.
It's a bonus.
It's a bonus. But I've got my running sorted, I've got my gym sorted, I've got my food sorted, I've got really great company. We're having a blinding time. And that was it. So for me, it was just that's what was the most important thing. So when I did manage to win the last tournament of the 4, it was nice. But once you've kind of like told yourself that, you know, you're very neutral and you're not going to get excited by wins and losses, you can't then just go, oh, I'm really going to get excited about this. Nah,
you have to stick to what you said.
It doesn't work like that. You know, once you've entered that mindset and that philosophy, you kind of just go with it. So even though we have the World Championships coming up, it's just another holiday for me, you know. It's like, I know I'm there for 18, 19 days. I'm going to try so bloody hard to stay in it, to try and win it, to do my best. But I'm staying there no matter what, whether I win or lose, because I've got my running sorted, I've got my gym, I've got a chef up there, I've got my friends coming to visit. I don't even like going on holiday, but send me 18 days to Sheffield or anywhere in the country to play snooker. It's a brilliant holiday, you know. So for me, it's like my only time I get fun by being away from home.
Yeah, that's nice. Do you, outside of, let's say, snooker, like obviously you are known as one of the most entertaining snooker players in the world, but also one of the most compelling, and you know, you speak your mind. Outside of snooker, let's say, even aside from the way people are being, let's say, supposedly controversial or speaking their mind. Are there any sports people that you really admire?
Yeah, I admired Ayrton Senna. Thought was an unbelievable competitor, a great driver. Loved to, just be on the limit really. Schumacher was another guy. Obviously, just watched his documentary. I kind of identified a lot with how he kind of approached his sport. Really? Yeah, I really kind of did. But then obviously I loved Tiger Woods. I think he's a great, unbelievable what he'd done in his sporting world. You can't help but love people like Messi. Phil Taylor was another great sportsman. His consistency and his longevity in the sport was, you just have to admire it,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of sports people I admire. Djokovic is great. Federer's great.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, I know they're the obvious ones, I suppose. But yeah, they're the kind of ones that, I suppose, are winners. And I do love a winner because I appreciate how hard it is to win. Yeah, anyone can win. Anyone can be number one. But doing it over a long period of time is the key. And I suppose the thing that sort of puts them in a bracket is that they've done it consistency over a long period of time, which makes them the all-time greats. A lot of people go, oh, he's a great player. And I'm like, he's only done it for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
He's only done it for 5 years.
Yeah.
He's only done it for 7 years. I've done it for 3 decades. Phil Taylor done it for 3 decades. Yeah. Tiger Woods done it for 2 decades. We're talking about
it's a different level.
It's a different level. Federer 2 decades. Djokovic 2. We're talking about decades here, not just 3, 4, 5 years. A lot of these people go, oh, he's a great player. And I go, well, if he's a great player, then they've got to find a new word for Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Got to find a new word for him.
Yeah.
Because you can't compare any golfer that's come along in the last 50 years to Tiger Woods. No. They're kind of they win a few tournaments, everyone gets excited, and then where they gone?
You look at Rory McIlroy. Obviously, I'm Irish, so he was, and he obviously still an incredibly talented player, but went on an incredible run, and then it was like he might be the next one. He might be the next one. Same with Ricky Fowler and all these guys. But eventually, it just shows you, I guess, by seeing these guys succeed for a few years and then maybe kind of plateau, just shows you how difficult it is to maintain that level. Yeah.
I think also as well, it's sort of it's hard, and Tiger Woods was ferocious, so, you had your Phil Mickelsons, your Ernie Els, and you had people that were there, trying to and he just put them in their place. And that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
You have to put people in their place. And I've had to do that for 30 years. There's people that have come along, I've gone, okay, he needs to be put in his place before he gets a bit too big for his boots.
Is that how you look at it?
Yeah.
Do you have to make it kind of personal in your own head?
Well, I wouldn't say personal. It's nothing against them.
No, yeah, of course.
It's just it might be a commentator that sort of doubts you, or some players might doubt you, and they might question you, and you kind of go, well, I know why he's questioning me because I'm not obviously winning as much as I was last year, and this guy Ding Junhui's come along, and they're all excited about this guy, and I was like, okay, and I put him in his place. Yeah. And that was it, you know. And I kept putting him in his place, and I kept putting a lot of them in their place. I'm not probably as good as putting people in their place now because I'm obviously 46, 47, coming up to 50, So I wouldn't, it's difficult for me to take that role on. But from the age of 19 to say 40, so say 2 decades, I put a lot of them in their place. A lot of people that come along and they was getting excited about it, I went, okay, it needs to be dealt with. And don't get me wrong, they give me as good as I give them. But I definitely put a dent in their career. I definitely halted what they may have thought they were going to achieve in the game. And that's what you have to do. So if you want to be an all-time great and you want to be around a long time, you've got to roll your sleeves up. You've got to get dirty. You've got to go into the pit of, my mate calls it, you've got to smother yourself in mustard. Are you prepared to smother yourself in mustard? And I'm like, yeah.
Do it.
Some people ain't. And that's what makes great champions. They're prepared to hurt, do what they've got to do. Yeah. And when I say do what I've got to do, they're prepared to develop as a player, as a human being. Some people ain't. They just get comfortable. They want the easy ride. They take the money. They take whatever they get. And that's fair play to them, but you can never call them an all-time great as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Well, Ronnie, thanks a million for taking time. I look forward to seeing you cover yourself in mustard later this month. Best of luck.
Sponsored by Heinz Mustard.
Lovely. Thanks a million, man.
Come out in a yellow suit.
Maybe Coleman's. That's the one.
Coleman's suit. My mate bought me some chalk. You got triangle chalk, and he got me in for my birthday. Coleman's mustard.
Lovely. Yeah. That was brilliant. Thanks a million.